Again, welcome everyone. Welcome everyone that's joining us. I am so grateful that we can gather and celebrate and worship in our way, in what we believe to be true for us. So, you ready?
Yep.
You know, we've been talking about community and culture for the last couple of weeks. So I want to start with just a reminder and a refresher of how we want to look at this. Because the Spirit has been asking me to tell everybody it's time to create a community. It's time to be committed to an ideal, a belief, if you so choose. Community is defined as a group that shares common interest, government, location, or ideas and identity. And for our purpose, community for us is the shared ideas and identity. Right? As metaphysical Christians, we don't all live in the same place. We don't all have the same government in our local places, but we do share identities and ideas. Culture is the totality, this is Webster, the totality of socially transmitted behavior patterns and beliefs. Love that definition. The totality of socially transmitted behavior patterns and beliefs. So, both are about beliefs and ideas, community, common identity, culture, how we act on those common ideas. So, community, what binds us, culture, how we express that. And there should be common threads in our culture. We should be a culture, common threads in our culture. You all understand when I say that? Okay. In Jesus' time, he had this same issue. Creating a community and a culture. He was coming into a very strongly, obviously, Jewish background and bringing in ideas that were new. As he walked, he would speak to the individual groups. He would teach them about God. He would heal them. That's one of the first things he led with when he started his ministry was healing, because people could see that he knew what he was doing. When he would heal someone, they went, oh, I better listen to this guy, you know? So he healed, he taught them how to heal as well, and then he spoke the ideas. But he also knew that he had to create a culture, a way to be, in order to create this movement. So in his very first year, before he started his beliefs, let's just talk about that for a second. He healed, he taught God is spirit, he taught that God is within you. He also taught that God is inclusive of all. You are not special. You're not separate. You're all special, actually, but you are all one with all mankind. God does not separate the Samaritans and the Jews and all the other cultures. God is Father of all cultures, and he taught that. God is inclusive. He also spoke in his early years of the universal Christ that belonged to all, and he would say, the Christ in me can be manifest in you. The Christ in me can be manifest in you. And this was in the early teachings of his ministry with his people. Do you see the ideas are very grand? Do you see that they're very big? They might be hard to embody. So he had to come up with cultural behavior guidelines, cultural behavior ideals for the multitudes. And this is what happened on the Sermon on the Mount. The first thing that he taught, and in the Aquarian you'll see it in verse 94, he taught them the Lord's Prayer. He taught them how to connect with God. You know, we think the Lord's Prayer has been with us forever. Jesus brought it down. This is how you, in your culture, can connect with God. And then he taught them the Beatitudes. And this is the Beatitudes that he gave them. Spirit makes you strong. The meek will inherit the land. And in their day and time, the meek didn't have any hope of manifesting reality, of matter. But he said, no, the meek can manifest reality, can manifest land, can manifest things of this earth. If you are meek, humble, good in heart, you can have things on this earth plane. New idea. Be meek, basically. Honor the meek. Seek and you will find what you are looking for. You'll be fed. Be merciful and mercy will come to you. Master yourself and you have the kingdom, the keys of power. Master yourself. The pure in heart will see God. You are worthy if you do right and people get upset with you for doing right. You have done good. Stand in your right and you will bless your persecutors. Now, isn't that inclusive? I'm doing what I believe. You don't like what I believe. You try to make me feel bad about what I believe, but I stand in what I believe. I am now not condemning you as my persecutor. I am honoring you and saying I'm just going to stand in what I believe. Do you see? Instead of fighting. All inclusive. Throughout these cultural steps of behavior are intertwined the ideals that he's trying to get them to understand. Trust, and you will sit on the throne of God, which meant trust God and you will have access to God power. You will help others rise. He said, I came to fulfill the old laws. They're no longer applicable to where you guys are. I came to fulfill the old laws. And when we think of the ideals, God is all-inclusive, God is spirit, God is within, the universal Christ can be manifest in me, huge ideas. But as I can do one of these Beatitudes, if I may not fully understand universal Christ, but if I can show mercy, I'm walking closer to God. If I can stand in my truth and not fight, I'm walking closer to God. Do you guys see? These cultural behaviors allow us to begin to move toward the ideals. Okay? So, we needed action steps to create a culture to make the beliefs real. We need action steps to create a culture so the beliefs become real. And we know how successful Jesus' teachings were. We can see it, yes? Christendom has survived through many twists and turns, many limitations, many things that we would not have scripted nor would we have wanted to participate in. But it has survived because the love of God and the love of Jesus Christ was always at the core. No matter how mankind tried to manipulate it and use it against their fellow man, the love of God was at its base. So it has survived. The love has survived. Not necessarily all the laws. If you guys realized how many laws were enacted by Christian faiths over the years that are no longer active, you would be amazed. You would be amazed at the transition of the laws of Christianity. But here we stand today with the love of God in our heart, the love of Jesus Christ with us. And now what is our next step? So this is what Spirit asked me to share with you guys. They started showing me bits and bits and bits, pieces and pieces. So they asked me to read this. This is the front of the January newsletter. We are living in very exciting times. During the year of 2020, we will experience so many astrological energies that will help us create new foundations. Some energies need to be broken first, but the rebuilding will be necessary. We will also have the opportunity to begin to formulate a new concept of brotherhood. Then in the April newsletter, White Eagle, the soul growing, the soul in whom the flame burns brightly, will face all renunciation philosophically, tranquilly, and joyously. For that wise soul knows that what is lost has served its purpose, and something better now awaits the soul. Whether on the spiritual or material plane, it cannot know. Learn to face the cross with tranquility, knowing that out of the ashes of the past, a new life is being born. Both of those set the stage for what we're going through in our world today. Spirit had me do this. I was guided to go back to the services that we have done since January. The very first month of this year, we were asked as a church to express gratitude to God. We were asked to write in gratitude journals every single day for the month of January. And most of us did. We participated and we wrote thank you to God. And it began to shift how we related to God. Y'all, that was our Lord's Prayer. That is the new Lord's Prayer of the new era. Gratitude, where we are literally giving back to God every day unconditional love. This was us shifting our connection with Spirit. But the Lord's Prayer is a beautiful prayer. And it's all about, I'm going to align with God, and God is going to help me navigate this earth plane. For the new community and the new culture that we are creating, we have to have a new connection. And ours becomes giving back unconditional love to God. When you say, thank you, God, The connection is going this way. Instead of help me navigate, help me be grateful for how I'm navigating with you. So we did that for a month. And then we started working on different things. In February, we worked on relationships. Do y'all remember the little skits? We worked on living at a new level of truth with one another. Remember? In March, we talked about Christing on the levels of love, wisdom, and power. How to act with God in love, and how to act with God when we express power, and how to act with God when we were wise. When we went into confinement, we started talking about how to stay strong and not dim your light. We talked about how to take time to be closer to God. We talked about forgiving and loving each other no matter what had happened. Let it go. It doesn't fit in the new paradigm. Let it go. We also talked about asking God for what our next step is. Guide us. We started to bring God into our world through the April, through the Easter. And then during May, we talked about keeping our thoughts loving, and we talked about keeping our emotions moving. That we in God love are authentic, our authentic self. Do you guys hear me? This is what Spirit said. Those are our new Beatitudes. We have been merciful and we've received mercy. We have stood in our right and we have not condemned our persecutors. We have tried to hope and love and have a pure heart. But now in order to create a new space, a new culture, a new community, we have to have new Beatitudes to live through. And this is, I'm going to paraphrase it for you. I was going to copy this and give everybody a copy, but I know touching paper is not advisable in this current culture. But it is not my culture. I advise you to take a picture of it before you leave with your phones. But here it is. Your daily connection with God is the gratitude prayer. Your Beatitudes are: live a new level of truth in your relationships. Act with God as you express love. Act with God as you express power. Act with God as you express your wisdom. Ask God for directing your next step. Be proactive living with God. What is my next step? Just direct me. Forgive others, forgive others, forgive others. How many times? Forever. Forgive, forgive, forgive. And forgive yourself. We do stuff all the time, every day, that we judge. Forgive it. Let it go. Keep your thoughts loving. Take time to be with God and nurture the God in self. That was really big. Take time to be with God and nurture the God in you. We forget that second half. Keep your emotions moving. Don't get stuck. And look for God, love in you to find your authentic self. I think it's a wonderful list. Does it sound doable?
Yes.
These are the Beatitudes of a new culture, how we will act. What are the ideas that this culture seeks to express? I think we don't have to rewrite them. I think we go right back to what Jesus taught. God is Father, Mother. God is within you. God is all inclusive. The God in you expresses divinity. Now we are taking his ideas and expressing them through a new cultural paradigm. And this is what is being asked of us today. Metaphysical Christianity, it is absolutely time for us to be recognizable. It's time for us to be recognizable. I do not know how that's going to look. But any 60s people out there? You know what this means? Peace. Peace. A symbol that was shared all the time among the young people. There was no question. I'm giving good to you, my friend. I'm giving good to you. We don't have to be that symbolically specific, but we do need to be that recognizable. We need to be that recognizable. And I will tell you this. I was talking with Jim yesterday. We were filming and we were waiting for Patrick and we were chitty-chatting about everything. And you know, when I talk, I'm like, okay, I don't understand what's happening in the culture of the world today. I don't understand the economic oneness that we don't have yet. And Jim was talking about the dollar and the power of the dollar in the world. And we're chatting, and then we chat about this, and we chat about that, and we chat about the other thing. Now we're talking about mega churches. And then out of my mouth, Cindy says, I want us to be a mega church. And you know what Jim said to me? He said, you do not, Cindy, want us to be a mega church, or we would have been a mega church a long time ago. And when he said that to me, you know what I heard? God. I heard God coming out of his mouth. It was the absolute truth. That if through the energy of who I am, God and I could have manifested anything. But Jim spoke truth to me, and in that moment it negated every single thing that we've been talking about, because I had not been talking with God eyes. I'd been talking as a child, trying to understand, what does that mean? Why do the countries do this? Why are we treated this way in the world? Blah, 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 blah. Instead of, God, what I need to see, show me. And let me watch the words that come out of my mouth to bring me to a space where I am culturally demonstrating my beliefs. You know, one of my things is to goof off. I love goofing off. So, y'all know me. So when we're counseling or something, I'm all in. I'm all tucked up under God's wing, and I'm doing the best to channel that beautiful love and light. But when I'm goofing off, I mean, I'm kind. I'm not unkind. But I say things that are not powerful. I might even say something not powerful about myself. Do you do that? Yeah. What if we had... Patrick said Rachel does. What if we culturally could begin to speak these Beatitudes? What if we could culturally speak, I may be experiencing this today, but I know who I am. Catch ourselves when we're not using the empoweredness of God. I am eternal. I am eternal. I am speaking the truth. I am eternal. And who I am is fabrics upon fabrics of experiences. I'm pretty awesome. So is every one of us. We're eternal with fabrics and fabrics of experiences within us. And how we stand today in this moment, the master I am scripted. I scripted how I'm standing in this moment. I scripted it. You all know, those that listened last week, I shared a story about an issue I was going through in childhood about makeup, no makeup. And I said, this is something I get to deal with. I get to deal with my appearance and get to deal with everything. Guess who got an eye infection? Yes. Guess who still has a makeup? Yes. I am dealing and healing in my own way. But do you not think the master in me sculpted that for this week? Yes. So that in love and light, I can learn who I am. I can love who I am in love and light. You see? We're all masters in this game. And when we keep our eye on, these are the Beatitudes that were given to us by God over these months. Through me, the channel, Patrick. Is it the absolute? No. Could it have been said better? Probably. But the energy is there. And this list probably needs to be added to for each one of us to find ways where we take our light in a very positive and loving way into the world. Unity. Our community, unifies with common ideas. This small group here, we have a common idea, don't we? Do you all believe God is your parent? Do you believe you're eternal? Okay. And do you believe the God within you creates your reality for you to grow, learn, experience? Okay. We have that common unity. We've got those much of the ideas embraced. Do we still need to work on our culture? Yes, our culture. I remember sharing with you when I first introduced this idea that I want to be one of those people that the world says, oh, it's one of those metaphysical people. It's like, That's good. I want that. Honest, loving, kind, truthful. I want to be one of those people. But our culture needs to be created and solidified as a presence on the earth plane. Okay. So, when we're speaking in contradiction to the ideals that we believe, we are stepping out of what we want to create as a faith. You need to hear me? When we speak in contradiction to our ideals, we're stepping out of what we believe. A few years ago, there was a hat or a saying. I remember seeing it on everybody's hat. I think it was God is in charge. And something similar to that. I adore that. Maybe 20 years ago. I don't know how long ago. But I adored it because race consciousness was literally wearing these hats that said God is in charge. It was so fabulous. And so I expected that every person that had that hat on was my brother. I could go up and say, hey, me too. I expected that. And I'm sure they meant it for a minute. We want to have that in our heads all the time. God is in charge in our thoughts. We don't have to wear a hat, but in our thoughts. To believe is to be and to live. We know this. We want to ask God's love to move through us. And Spirit said this, when you say, which I do say, God, let me see the world through your eyes, sometimes we are asking for too much. We cannot see the world through God's eyes totally. But when we say, let me see what you would have me see, then it can come at our level of consciousness, what we need to see, what we need to receive. Let me see what I need to see. And that way, I'm not trying to take over the whole world. I'm only doing my part and holding the light in what I believe to be true. We need to try, and if we fail, we need to try again. We need to try, and if we fail, we need to try again. Truly, God is in charge. The beginning of the Old Testament, when there's so many books on the Mosaical laws, in the beginning, they were never punitive. There was no punishment. Do you realize that? Thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. There was not, and if you do, therefore. Boom, boom, boom. When I'm teaching my seminary class, I ask my Old Testament students to pick one law and watch how the punishment changes as we read. First, there's no punishment. Oops, now we better punish you to keep you in line because you're misbehaving. Oh, now we got to punish you even more. Well, we'll punish you a little less now because we were killing too many people. The punishment for these crimes changes over time. You cannot control people with a negative reinforcement. And that is the basis of metaphysical Christianity. We have to flow. If we mess up, we mess up. It's okay. Forgive, move on, let's go. No one should be ostracized or held to our standards. They're living their own. And we know as we give, we receive, we're living in the flow of God love. Ideals we hold should be proactively expansive. And there should be no if you don't, boom. That does not exist in God love. Proactively expansive. You reap what you sow, you do what you do. Can you guys feel it's time?
Yes.
As we're moving back into this world, Georgia's had it pretty easy. So we're moving back into getting everything back online. There's still so many precautions and so much guidelines for social distancing and things. It may take us a little while to reintegrate, and it may take us a little while to figure out what's happening economically. Jim and I did not solve the world's problems yesterday, so we tried. So as we're moving toward this, if we as a community can really begin to understand, it really doesn't matter what's happening in the world, it matters what's happening in my world. In my world, God is. In my world, love is. In my world, I might have a little moment. I'm learning something from it. I, the master in me, is guiding me to be greater. So you guys, Jesus faced planting an idea to create an entirely new relationship with God. We are at the beginning of another era. where we are now acting that idea in an entirely new relationship with God. It's so easy, isn't it? And aren't you glad you're here? You guys signed up for this. This is what you signed up for. Yay, God. All right, let's go within. So just breathe, breathe, breathe. And feel that beautiful love of God falling like a rain over you. Father, Mother God, we don't ask for you to make things right in this moment. We're going to send gratitude to you now for all that is right. God, I thank you for all that you have done in each of our lives. I thank you and send your gratitude for the good, the prosperity, the peace, for the health, the wholeness. Send your love. We are so grateful, God. And we breathe in that light as it returns to us and just engulfs our mind, our emotions, our feelings, our feet. And I would invite all of you just to feel the energy coming all the way through you, just to your feet. And just begin to feel that you do stand in a new space. Who I am in this world is a greater expression of God love. And feel the light moving to the solar, the stomach area. All that I do in this world is a greater expression of God love. And feel it moving to your heart. All that I love is a greater expression of God love. Believe, breathe and believe. God is, and I am, and all is well. We love you, Father, Mother God. We love you, Jesus Christ. We love all of our guides and teachers. And feel that presence of Jesus Christ just standing by your side. We will get there. We will get there. Take a breath. Send your gratitude to the room. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. I thank you all. I thank you guys out there too for joining us today. And I ask that just be with what we've talked about. And if we could implement one thing, reinstigate your gratitude journals. Tell God thank you. Take one little thing, even just start with relationships. I'm just going to speak my truth. That's all. One little thing. By consciously choosing to act differently, you're empowering yourself and the whole. And when one is healed, all are healed. So as you heal your journey, you help heal my journey. And I am very grateful for that. Say, yay, God.
Yay, God.